Hey.
Me and a dog. Jumping like a frog. You ever play frogs?
Welcome back to the Rooted Podcast, where we talk dogs, training, and all the stuff that makes us question why we ever thought this would be a relaxing career. If you came for a sugar-coated advice, wrong show. But if you like honesty and a little bit of sarcasm and real conversations about working dogs and people behind them, you're in the right place.
You are in the right place. And today we're going to talk about why behavior matters, and how we can start to create a relationship between cause and effect with dogs and all the things in between. So we're pretty excited. My name is Michael Nesbitt. This is my beautiful wife, Alison Nesbitt. We're here with our reoccurring guests right now.
Temporary. Hello.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Liam. Nice to meet y'all.
I think the kids call it aura farming. I think that's what it is, right?
What that I was just doing?
He's Liam's steady aura.
I'm a big aura farmer.
What does that mean?
Yeah, like when you're too cool. Like, yeah, I'm
That's
Liam.
not even what I did at
Here
all.
to talk or something.
Temporary.
Yeah, temporarily here with my non-plaid shirt.
I'll talk to y'all soon. I'm gonna get out of here now.
Yeah, that's probably a good move.
And then we also have Braxton and Mallory that are joining us. And we're obviously super happy to have them. We always have great conversations, hence why we invite them back. So before we get into it, let's do a shout out to our sponsor, Worthless Handler. The episode, the Rooted Podcast, is brought to you by Worthless Handler, the lifestyle brand built for handlers, trainers, and canine nerds who actually do the work. It's not about looking pretty. It's about putting in the time, sweat, and the bite marks. Check them out at worthlesshandler.com and tag Worthless Handler to show your part of the crew.
I also think that it is about looking pretty.
Yeah, looking pretty is good.
Yeah, looking pretty. When you look pretty, you just feel pretty and you act pretty.
You feel.
I think that you also you feel good when you walk out the door. Like you just have this confidence about yourself. Like, damn, I put work into myself today.
Why are you saying? Yeah, you
got aura. It's aura. When you step out the house, you got aura.
Rex took a shower this morning.
Oh, thank the Lord. First one in weeks.
Yeah, my first one in about 3 weeks.
Disgusting. That's disgusting. So this is your topic. You brought this to the table. You wanted to talk about this today. So I'm going to let you kind of take charge and get the conversation going. I know we're going to talk a little bit about philosophy and some science, some nerd stuff.
Philosophy.
Oh, philosophy. we're gonna philosophize.
Is this table white?
Okay.
Oh, God.
Yo.
Yeah,
One thing we're gonna do this episode is we're gonna keep it nifty. All right, because I'm gonna keep it nifty on 50s.
Mm-hmm.
So what I really like to see when it comes to training dogs is overall, whether we're doing pet dog stuff, working dog stuff, sport dog stuff, I like the dogs' attitudes to be or to feel like they're empowered, you know?
Yes.
And I think when we start to pair the relationship of their behavior having a direct relation to what the outcome is or the consequence of their behavior is, it can be a very empowering thing for dogs. And so an example of that, like a very basic example of that, is teaching a puppy to sit. They sit. When they do sit, a consequence of them sitting is they get a treat, right? Like they start to realize when I do things in the world, I'm responsible for what those outcomes are. And I think the more behaviors we teach dogs in that manner, the more empowered the dogs become. They're not just a victim of their circumstances like the Gen Z kids. They're more like they know, and we want them to know that they determine what the outcome is. The outcome isn't like a pre-existing thing in their mind. It's like, hey, you do this behavior, and then the effect of that behavior is either a desirable or an undesirable outcome.
So when you talk about this the whole time when you were, explaining it, I kept thinking of like the puppy stage.
Okay.
Reason being is I feel like at the puppy stage, they are so raw in regards to like what they know and what they've experienced in life. It's very limited. besides like what they've encountered in their whelping box and the interaction that they've had with their breeder and so forth. I think what I have really enjoyed, like kind of going off of that, is watching a dog kind of like figure out different behaviors, and then obviously with the timing that we kind of mark that behavior and we get them to repeat it, it's almost like you find this empowerment that has gone on in their brain where they start feeling like really confident, and then you start seeing like almost like the wheels are turning and they're trying to do like, well, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And I've totally encountered so many dogs later on life that don't kind of have that mentality of like, hey, what are you asking of me? They're just existing. Do you think dogs that start that early on don't end up like that? Or do you think dogs that start that early on could absolutely head that direction?
Yeah, I think it's innate in them, you know? Like you look at puppies when they're first born, they have to be responsible somewhat for getting milk from their mom. Right? So like they have to do a behavior that gets them a desirable consequence. So I think that it's in them all innately. I think where we can run into issues is like when we kind of bastardize it, like when we mess up, you know, maybe with poor timing or not being fair and just to what our expectations are and what the dog's capabilities are. I think in those moments we can mess it up. But ultimately, I think innately the dogs and most, I don't know every creature on the planet, but I would say most things understand that there is a cause and effect relationship. Right?
For sure.
Like a human baby cries, it gets its diaper changed or it gets milk from its mom. It's similar to like Liam, you know, like Liam cries, then I give him a hug and he feels better.
Yes.
You know? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely like this. Man, the phrase I was about to say, I don't know if I can say it. So
Oh God. Get the bleep ready, Blake.
but there's definitely like this instinct that we do as humans where we kind of want to kind of rescue anyone struggling. And I know as a parent, when I've seen my child like work through something and all of a sudden they've figured it out on their own, it's so much different in as far as how they feel about themselves and the empowerment that comes from it when they just do it simply on their own. When they come in, they're like, hey, look what I just did, or look what I just figured out, versus like sitting down and going, hey, can you help me with this puzzle, for example, or whatever. And I think because us as humans desire so badly to be the captain, I'm just gonna say it, Captain Save-A-Ho, where you have to come in, you have to like, let me help you. I see you're struggling. I see that you're not figuring this out. So now let me advocate and let me try to help you. And I think we do that often with behaviors for dogs. That we see a dog struggling and that's, feeling anxious, or we see a dog that needs to recover because they had some environmental issues when they're in public, or we see them trying to figure out the behavior and they're not getting it fully, and then we just kind of like rescue the situation.
Yeah, like a helicopter mom, basically.
Yeah, and we do that very much with dogs.
Yeah, that like the learning is in the struggle, right? Like if, for instance, we're have a couple dogs going through handler's course right now, and like we're just getting into the tracking portion.
Yeah.
And like the dogs were absolutely crushing what we were asking of them in tracking, and most people would be happy with that. Right? Like, wow, the dogs are doing really well. But we chatted and we're like, hey, if they're crushing where we're at right now, that means that we're not pushing them to the point of actual learning, because they need to hit those kind of points of failure and struggle through the response, or struggle through what our target behaviors are, so that we can advance them and they can understand, again, that cause and effect relationship between our target behaviors. I think obviously when we're talking cause and effect, for the trainers out there, they're probably more easily getting what we're talking about. But generally, if we're talking about consequences when it comes to behavior, we're talking about operant conditioning, right?
Right.
And there's a ton of podcasts that like deep dive into people's takes on operant conditioning. So I don't want us to overcomplicate those things right now. I want us to try and make it as digestible as possible. And basically what operant conditioning is learning by consequence, right? A desired behavior, a target behavior happens. And then as a result of that behavior, those consequences are either going to make that behavior more likely to happen or less likely to happen. I also think that what we should address is that cause and effect relationship isn't just based off of sunshine and rainbows, right? Like it's the cause and effect is, hey, when you do something I like, the results are something that you like, something that's reinforcing.
Right.
But when you also do something that I don't like, the results are something that you also don't like, to make that behavior less likely to happen. So both of those are cause and effect type relationships. And I don't think that we have to avoid the more or the aversive side of it as well. I think if we avoid that, then we may not be giving them a full, clear definition of what the picture is that we're looking for.
Yeah. And I just, like, a little side note, being married to someone that's really good at operant conditioning can be very challenging, because as you're saying this,
You're saying I trained you?
as I'm saying this, like, if you do something that I don't like, there's a consequence, and it's usually like my bad mood. However, you match me with being extra, like, annoying, or
I never been in a bad mood in my life.
And so then, like, I'm starting to become conditioned, like, don't get into a bad mood, because then it gets.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it's a little of a struggle. So, but that's what I was thinking about as you were explaining that. But okay, so operant conditioning leads also to a very independent dog. When we use that, a lot of times, especially like pet owners, they don't necessarily understand, or even actually canine handlers, what that means. They think that an independent dog means that dog's just going to solely not really engage. It's not going to engage with them. It's not going to look for them for their reinforcement system, anything like that. Now, obviously, we don't necessarily believe that. Does anyone want to add into that comment?
When it comes to dog behavior and training, I think that it's one of those places where you can have your cake and eat it too. You can have a dog that is independent and confident, but also a dog that has max level engagement with you. I feel like it's not absolute one or the other.
Yeah.
And I think when they really understand this cause and effect relationship, that can be used for engagement. That can be used for independence type exercises. It can be used for all of those things. So it's what's the Spider-Man quote? Like with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
So the better you are at making the dogs perceive their impact on their world, the more responsible you have to be with it, right? And the more thoughtful you have to be with it. If I want a dog that's very independent, but also very willing to engage with me, well, I have to monitor those kind of opposing behaviors and use them in ways that are going to be complementary to my overall goal.
Right.
I think the other thing that's super important when we talk about cause and effect is that we have to also make sure that we are understanding that it is through the perception of the dog and not what we want the perception to be, right? Example that I give, and I've given it quite a bit, is like when we talk about negative punishment, right? So that's taking away access to something that the dog wants as a result of undesirable behavior. So a really good example, or kind of easy example to see, is like, hey, the dog we're doing some bite work with a dog and it's biting, and for whatever reason the dog lets go of the bite. Well, if we're just following strictly what operant conditioning tells us, is then okay, well, we can let the dog lose access to having that bite, right? And most people would say that that's negatively punishing,
Right.
But if the dog let go of the bite because he was scared and didn't want to be biting that person, and we remove access to biting, then that is a totally different story.
Absolutely.
And that's not negative punishment to that dog. The dog's probably like, thank God you've gotten me out of here now.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to really make sure that we are always kind of analyzing how the dog is receiving this information. What's the dog think about this information?
Yeah, absolutely.
anything to add on to that, Liam?
This kind of just made me think of a post I just saw from a trainer named Jordan Henderson that I actually really liked. So I'm going to read it off. The text on the reel says, "The dog is always right. If you want to be mad at yourself. Be a better trainer." And the caption I also quite like, and it says, "If you don't like the choices the dog is making, train them to make better ones. It's called handling for a reason. Handle it." Yeah. So I thought that kind of applied and was insightful, because I think what we see a lot of the time is a lot of emotion and probably not rational thinking during training. Maybe not a lot of the time, but sometimes.
Yeah.
So
and we have to, and that's where we can start bastardizing that cause and effect relationship, right? Like we have to make sure that it's a very clear cause and effect for the dog. Otherwise, we're violating dog's expectations. And then we can run into some pretty challenging issues.
I mean, just in general, life's easier when you're working with a dog that truly desires to learn and will have problem solving skills, and will, you can just get your timing down and all those things. Like, it's really where you get your dog is kind of starts becoming endless, and it's much easier to live, in my opinion, with a dog. So that's kind of like the science and like the cause and effect kind of intro
and philosophy.
And philosophy.
Is the table white?
You've never been, have you taken a philosophy class?
No, I've never taken one.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But like one of like
That
the
explains it.
one of like the biggest things they kind of talk about is like how all of us like potentially, like, you can't really like define if you see the same color like white on this table that I am, right? So really, is it white, right? And then like there's also like
This is white.
we
Pretty
feel
white.
this table and it feels smooth, but like, is my interpretation of smooth the same as like your interpretation of smooth, right? So that's why I went to that example as like the white table.
The whiter the table, the sweeter the juice.
That's not that's,
Philosophy.
okay.
All right.
Let's get into how this plays out though in real world, like some of the cause and effect that we were talking about.
For sure. Mallory, can you think of an example, real world cause and effect? Relationship stuff with dogs?
Or with people.
Oh Lord.
Does it have to be like can it be like environment cause and effect? You know what I'm
can be
saying?
whatever.
Anything.
All right. While Mallory's thinking of her
Yeah, maybe skip
example,
it, come back.
I'll give you an example. So when I grew up, when I was growing up, when I was growing up, my grandfather had Springer Spaniels. So that's kind of the first dogs that I was like really obsessed with. Well, there was one, I think her name was Becky, yeah. And we would be up at the cottage, and it's like going fishing, cabin. What do you guys call it in America? Cottages?
Yeah, we
Cabins?
call them cabins or cottages.
Yeah. So we're just out there living the country life, like good old
Hell yeah.
country bumpkin.
Okay.
While I was out there, this dog Becky would get out, and she was like gamey, so she would go after porcupines and stuff, and she would come back and be tore up. If you guys have ever seen a dog that has got into it with a porcupine, she would come back and be tore up. But she didn't like learn her lesson, and she would continue to do that thing. Well, one of the times there was another dog, I believe it was Charlie was the dog's name, was with Becky, and Charlie got the business from a porcupine, and he, through cause and effect, learned, I don't mess with those things. But Becky didn't learn. So there wasn't that cause and effect relationship with the porcupine with Becky, but the same thing happened with Charlie, and there was a big cause and effect where Charlie was like, he did it one time and learned his lesson. I'm not messing around with no porcupine.
Yeah. So can I ask you, was Becky more drivey than Charlie?
I was like super young, so I don't really exactly remember.
Like, okay.
But
Because I was just thinking, like, for instance, like Zazu, our Yog Terrier, I'm confident that he would have a harder time in situations like that doing a proper like cause and effect. Like, he would probably continue going after the porcupine and stuff like that. So leading into that, do you think drive then sometimes can affect a dog's association to, let's say, like a negative that they encounter on their own?
I think it's the same, like with all of the dogs. I think that gives us an example where the cause and effect relationship wasn't there. Like it wasn't for something to be punitive or punishing. The dog has to have the perception that it's punishing, right? So for Becky, getting porcupine quills in her face wasn't punishing enough for her to not want to do it. Right?
Yeah.
It's like some dogs, on a flat collar, and a little pop on a flat collar,
Is enough.
they're like, I never want to ever experience that again.
sure.
And other dogs, that means nothing to them.
Well, I find, to be honest with you, I find it's more in the dogs that like are really, really, really high drive, like a Rocco or a Diva or anything like that. Like not so much Diva, but like you start to find that certain dogs, and it could be like the lines, it could just be they're motivated. Like sometimes you have to start getting more creative because the stereotypical negative isn't a negative to them because
Like
they're
Punisher,
they're in just such a high state of, I have to have that no matter what you do to me right now. Like I have to have that.
Yeah, for sure. Like when we're playing with like high levels of arousal in dogs, just giving them high level aversives doesn't mean that it's punitive. Like that doesn't mean that it's going to stop a behavior. Oftentimes it can increase the intensity of the behavior, right? Like we talk about like dogs that like spicy food, and when we're saying that, it's hey, this dog's in a high level of arousal. If I give it very firm corrections on a prong collar or very high levels on an e-collar, that doesn't stop the arousal level. And for the dogs that like quote unquote spicy food, often it increases the arousal level that dog is in, right? So it's not, I don't think it's so much about what we're doing or what we're trying to do as the quote unquote punisher, but more about, again, how the dog receives that information.
Right.
We go back to the negative punishment. It's like, Ezra at school gets in trouble for talking back to her teacher, and comes back to the house, and I say, hey, Ezra, I learned about negative punishment. That means take away something from you, and I'm going to take away your calculator from you for the week because you were rude. She doesn't care,
Ezra be like, whatever.
Yeah, but if I say, hey, Ezra, you were rude, I'm going to take away your iPad. Now that means something to her.
Yeah.
And I think that runs true for all four of the quadrants. Yeah. Like, if the dog doesn't like food and I'm trying to positively reinforce it with food, or it's not motivated by food in that moment, then it's not really reinforcing.
For sure.
Same kind of ordeal.
So a little off topic again. Do you remember when you were in California and you were talking to Dr. Melanie? Yeah. And you were talking about spicy food and how, and you're going to have to help me fill in the blanks here because I was trying to listen, but it started to get really beyond my IQ level there a little bit. But you guys mentioned something like how when people eat spicy food, there's some kind of like response that goes on in the brain.
We were just talking. There was we'll probably have to put the article in the show notes.
Okay.
And I'll look it up. But it was basically saying like people link dopamine with like the happy neurotransmitter.
Okay.
Dopamine is also released when there is like levels of pain.
Right. That's what we were. Okay.
So what a theory that someone has, I don't remember the exact person, I don't want to quote them.
Okay.
But is basically people that like spicy food are introducing like just the right amount of pain with something that tastes good and savory, and that intensifies the pleasure dump that they get from eating that food.
Right.
So they've also theorized and they've linked it to people that are into like masochism and stuff of that sort. So that's why I'm like, oh, this dog, it's anytime I'm like, oh, the dog is kind of like a masochist. Like they like in bite work, like when the decoy is like kind of fighting with them and they're more into it. I was like, oh, this dog is a spicy food type dog. Like,
right. And there's some breeds that you guys were talking about that also have that dopamine response in
that was like that conversation is not like a scientific.
No, it was just kind of more like talking. It
Like
wasn't like,
maybes.
yeah,
That's
like
the
maybes. These are all like,
Yeah.
The A22 gene.
Yeah.
so, but anyways, when you're saying spicy food, that made me think of it. And that was a really fascinating conversation. If you haven't, check out Dr. Melanie. She's on Instagram.
Melanie Oud.
She's really, really smart. Shout out to her. And has a lot of great content out there.
All right. If someone wanted to, whether a canine handler, a pet dog person, a pet dog trainer, whatever it may be, if they wanted to try and increase their dog's understanding of cause and effect, the cause and effect relationship between behavior and outcomes, what are some like easy things that they could do? It's an open question to anyone that wants to answer.
Are we talking like a more green dog or a dog that's already kind of progressed?
Like
in
do
training?
both. Like do both. Like one, like a person that has a pet dog. It's a year old. Does a lot of like self-rewarding. Doesn't really do anything at home. And
Yeah,
then
either or, just take
and
it
then
how you want.
and then a working dog.
There you go.
Well, I think if we're going off maybe an example of like kind of our loose standard procedures for training our pet dogs, like super simple ones we do off rip is like charging or loading our markers. And then once we're conditioning, maybe some aversives, we're often past like the reward based stuff in sit down, mark or place. And then we start adding those in. So I think simple, very clear, as black and white as we can make it for the dog early on. That's kind of our go-tos for
Yeah.
pet dogs.
Like I like to say, like going off of that, like remove the fluff. Like just kind of like stick to, one words, lots of structure, lots of consistency, understand that every time you interact with your dog, you are either rewarding a behavior, cause and effect, right? So you have to make sure that those cuddle sessions, that has to come from something. Why are we doing this, right? Those sits that you asked for, why are we asking for that? Can we reinforce it? And just being very consistent in the very beginning and removing all the fluff. Like, how are your day, Fluffy? Like, was it a good day? You're happy to see mommy? How was your day?
How are your day?
I can't role play very well. I'm sorry.
That's not true.
Michael.
God.
Kids
He's in a
listen to
mood
this.
today.
Go.
Yeah, I think like scraping everything away, like you said, just simple things. With whether it's pet dogs or working dogs, one of the primary things that we teach is a place command. And I think that can be like really clear cut to them on like, hey, you did this. This is what the outcome of that is. And we could, the further they get along that process, the more we can start saying, hey, there's a desirable or an undesirable outcome. And I think that really helps establish, or we should say kind of reestablish, because I think they're all innately born with that cause and effect. And sometimes we just bastardize it by not meeting up to our end of the bargain, or our timing being so off that it can make things a little iffy.
Mallory, Braxton, anything?
I think like consistency too, especially in like the learning phase. Like if I have a dog that has like a jumping problem and only like 50% of the time I'm giving them a negative consequence for jumping,
Yeah.
like the cause and effect isn't clear enough
Right.
that they're actually understanding what's happening.
Right. I think also too, I kind of started mentioning this, but like the self-rewarding behaviors that the dog is consistently able to do and continue to figure out their own reward system, I think you are going to have a hard time establishing the relationship of that cause and effect when you're not involved. Like a dog losing it in the car and having the time of their life, and then you take it out of the car and you're like, hey, work for me. And they're like, well, I just had a fantastic time doing that. And I was paid some big bucks because I feel really good and empowered right now. I'd rather go do that. So I find that sometimes can be an issue for sure.
And even that example is cause and effect, right?
Yeah.
It's just cause and effect without us. It's a little yappy dog. The mailman comes to the house.
Yep.
The yappy dog barks at it, and the mailman leaves. Well, he was leaving regardless of whether the dog was barking or not. But in that dog's mind,
Right.
they said, look what I scared the boogeyman away, and it just every day happening over and over.
For
It's a
sure.
huge cause and effect relationship. Where we come in is like micromanaging that cause and effect,
Yeah.
like, and making it kind of the dog's idea, but ultimately going towards what our goals are with these dogs.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Cool. Very cool. I actually had an
You
evaluation.
sound like Bo Rat.
I actually had an evaluation talking about this the other day, to be honest with you.
That's my wife.
This episode of The Rooted is brought to you by Worthless Handler. Since 2018, Worthless Handler has been manufacturing morale and pissing off admin with gear that speaks the truth of handlers, trainers, and working dog enthusiasts.
From bold patches to apparel, it's not just merch, it's a statement. Support those who support this podcast by heading over to worthlesshandler.com and check out their gear today.
Shout out Gary.
Let's talk about the police dogs and some of the things that you guys are doing and how you're implementing this a little bit. You talked a little about tracking.
Mhm.
And you guys just finished, like, there was 2 dogs that are going through a certification, one just cert right now. And are you seeing that the handlers are starting to really pick up on the understanding of cause and effect? Like, how is everything going with the course right now?
Yeah, I think it's going really well. We got some really solid handlers on course right now that are putting in that work
Mhm.
and keeping it nifty.
Keeping it nifty.
Pretty nifty. I think police dog examples of cause and effect are like all this behavior is cause and effect, but I'm trying to think of ways to give really clear examples. And I think one of the clearest ones with police dogs is in detection work. Like if I'm trying to teach a dog that the odor of cocaine matters,
Mhm.
well, it's just a cause and effect type relationship, particularly in the beginning, right? It's like, hey, you smell this odor, and this odor
Right.
as the cause, the effect of that is you get something that you want, right? And through repetitions, we can start to frame that behavior a little bit more specific and shrink it down to make it exactly what we want. But ultimately, that's a like very obvious cause and effect type relationship.
Yeah.
And a lot, it's very very clear to me in like the olfactory skills of dogs. So that being said, like building searches, I think are another really good example.
Mhm.
Hey, you run into this building, you search around, when you smell human odor, and you make a decision based off of that smell, this is what the outcome is, right? And you get what you're looking to get.
Yeah.
Where we can start to run into issues with some cause and effect stuff, I think, is based off of how we set our training up, right? If I'm trying to teach a dog to track and use its nose, and that the entire track is important, not just the end of the track, well, cause and effect can hurt us a little bit based off of how we set that up, right? If I want the dog to be meticulous in its tracking, and learning, hey, you don't just have to, it's not about rushing to get to the end, because that's where your reinforcement is. But I need you to be meticulous about the entire track. We have to frame training a little bit different. Is that making sense?
Yeah, this is kind of reminding me of why you don't throw like a guy in a suit at the end of the track in the very beginning and through that foundational training, because it is, very counterproductive to them being, meticulous through the track and understanding the whole tracking behavior, and it being rewarding in itself to actually track. Because if just at the end was a guy to bite, well, I'm getting there as fast as I can, and this is going to be great. I know where I'm headed.
Absolutely. And we see, like, when we travel and get to work with quite a bit of different places, you can see dogs that have had that type of foundational tracking pretty quickly. Like often, now it's not with bite stuff, but you generally, like, we can see it with a lot of bloodhound type trackers, because they do like what people refer to as like fire tracks or like runoffs, where it's like, hey, someone stands in front of the dog, kind of teases it up, and then runs away. Well, generally speaking, that means that if we're in an open field and there's a tree line, well, the dog can see that no one is in the open field, right? So they're generally not going to use their nose for that at least the first part of that quote unquote track. And they're just going to sprint to the tree line. And then when they get to the tree line, they may start to use their nose, but it's in more of an open area search skill set than it is a like nose down tracking from here to there.
Right.
Right. So like we can, but, and I'm not knocking that style of training. I'm just saying it's different, and there's some of the weaknesses in the cause and effect relationship. If it's only fun when you get to the end,
Yeah.
I just want to get to the end.
Right.
There's other things in life that some people, when they're selfish, they only worry about getting to the end. They're not worried about the whole problem, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
it's
Typically
different.
a certain gender.
Yeah. Females.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. So we talked about the police. Let's transfer over to the, let's say, the sport world, the PSA world. Okay. Well, it doesn't have to be necessarily just PSA. Don't shrivel down to your chair like that. In a sport, there's usually multiple scenarios. And a lot of times a dog is taught through those scenarios, and eventually they get to the point where they're close to trial day and they may be running through all the scenarios in order, learning that routine, so forth and so forth. Okay. So my kind of question, or I guess opener to a discussion, is how do you avoid a dog going, I can fail in this scenario because there's another scenario coming. There's another opportunity for me to bite anyways.
How do you avoid it?
Or do you see it? Do you think, what is your take on that? Because I have actually seen the opposite once.
I was gonna say, I feel like I'm more likely, I think, to see the opposite, to be like, so particularly in PSA, the PDC in specific, because that is like the part where there's not like surprise scenarios necessarily coming out.
Hold on, you have to pause. Liam's
Sorry,
doing
I'm
some
having
weird stuff.
Some technical difficulties
What's
over
going
here.
on with you?
Look at my
Chair's
chair.
Look at the mic.
Oh, sorry, Blake.
We'll
I don't
figure
know.
it out. Don't worry
I hit
about it.
something. I'm good. I just need to sit up with good posture,
Yeah,
otherwise I
get your
fall
posture
backwards. All right. Sorry for interrupting.
He falls out of the chair. I'm not being able to compose myself.
Oh God, it scared me.
Lock in.
I'm locked in.
All right, go ahead, Mike.
All
Sorry.
right. I think so. Where I've seen kind of almost the opposite of that happen is like when people get too patterned in their training. And I'll give, like, in the PDC, there's a carjacking bite, an attack on handler, and then the courage test. Right?
Yep.
People are like, "Oh, the trial is coming up. So they really lock into like, let me go through this and run through. And I've seen dogs that really quickly learn. I get 3 iterations of biting, and then the game is over. So they're out good on the first bite, they out good on the second bite, and the third bite comes around, and they're like, no, there's nothing after this, it's done. And they start to get sticky on their outs.
Yeah.
So I would say the first way to battle that cause and effect relationship is to not be so patterned in your execution. We want to be patterned in our expectations, but not patterned in our overall execution, right? So what I mean by that is like, hey, my expectations, when I tell you to out, you out. When I tell you to heal, you heal. That's what my expectations are, but not patterned in how the process goes, right? So like the cheat code that you can do is, if you are doing run throughs and preparing for trial, is I just don't end on the courage test. Like, just continue to, hey, look, there's something else coming. Hey, look, there's something else coming. And obviously that's a broad statement, and it would have to be adjusted on a dog by dog basis. But just being aware, again, from that 30,000 foot view, that there's a cause and effect relationship.
Well, it has to be hard too, especially when they say day 2 is always the hardest for a trial, because the dog has literally seen that field, knows what's happening, and has ran through those scenarios and says, okay, well, you know.
Yeah, some people say day 2 is hard, but I don't think day 2 is that hard.
Nah.
You already been
Yeah,
here.
high distinction,
Okay.
Viva.
Yeah, it's different when you got the HD.
Okay, so Braxton, when would you say also, like, when a dog gets their like first like street bite, the dog starts becoming more or less like, I know what's to come because of that cause and effect that took place? Like, and do you find that it's a little bit harder to, like, is it rope them in? Is that the right phrase?
Whoa.
Rope.
What the?
What
Is
the?
that pull them in, rope them in?
Yeah, just
rope
run-
them in.
run with it.
Rope them
Yeah.
in.
Reel them.
Reel them in.
Yeah,
That's right.
Because you reel in fish.
Yeah.
You don't rope in.
You rope in the fish. Well, she is Italian.
Yeah, I would probably say so.
Yeah.
I think that's like the most arousing thing that they can do. And yeah, I would say so.
Does a lot of troubleshooting come after, or would you say the dog starts becoming more proficient?
I think it probably depends. I would say that more issues could develop from having like a lot of street bites and not coming back and focusing on control and other aspects.
Right.
Afterwards, if you're just getting bite after bite after bite and that's all
Yeah.
we're doing, and not focusing in on other things, I could see other things degrading.
Sorry, Michael was like in a complete trance there while you were speaking.
Just Braxton's voice just does that.
Just put in-
It's majestic.
Yeah.
He's got a real majestic voice on that one there.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that it's a pretty good point. That when dogs have those like first initial engagements, that we got to take them back to the drawing board a little bit and say, hey, now that life has purpose, now that you've had this real thing, I still need your brain here with me, and obviously we don't want them to just spin and be like, you know what, obedience doesn't matter, none of this stuff matters. I'm just trying to do this sexy time.
Because you almost want to feel like I gave that to you in a way to kind of keep that, like,
Gave what?
like for instance, like and we go to the sports side for a second real quick, like the dog will, let's say we're making sure the dog has engagement with us and everything's good, and then we send the dog to the bite. So almost like the reward comes from the behavior they're offering here because that's what they want, right? That's how they're associating that. That's the most fun over there. So for like a canine, right, they're maybe like they track to the suspect and then the track was rewarding. That was a lot of fun. That's very like, again, oneself. Like the dog is in it. Like it's not really having the handler's not telling him, hey, this is where you need to put your nose down. Right. And no, I understand, but I'm thinking the mind of the dog is that like, I did the track. I found the guy. I bit the person. Right. So then I can see how very quickly when you're talking about control and going back to control, how for a lot of dogs that don't also have that foundation of control, there could be kind of like, well, bro, I'm out here. I'll do what I want to do. And that's about it. Does that make sense?
Kind of like they independently got to their highest reinforcement without the handler.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is good in a lot of ways because you don't want the dog to be reliant on the handler in order to work.
For sure.
But there has to be like a balance where it's like, bro, I still got to mean something here because I still need a...
You got to, the handler is the one that takes them to the dance.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
You can be the Uber driver, take them to the dance. They get to the dance. If they do everything right, like they've been trained to, they're hitting all the right moves.
Yeah.
out there,
Hey.
then they make it to go home with the girl.
Okay. I was wondering
But
where
if
you
they
were going
don't,
to get to the end
then
of
they
that
don't
and
get
like
to
what
go
was
home. Let's
following
go.
And they're
that.
still going to be happy with their Uber driver because he brought them to the dance.
Right.
True.
Right. And the Uber driver, so that's a kind of cause and effect relationship.
Yeah.
That, in that context. Yeah. I
Yeah.
get what you're saying.
I like that.
You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm
good.
putting
That
down?
was good?
That was good.
All right.
That was good.
Yeah.
Killed
I'm a
it.
poet. Poet.
All right. So, real quick, I just want to bring it back to the sponsorship. A little snippet here. If you're interested in sponsoring the Rooted podcast, now's the time to reach out. Whether you're a canine gear company, dog brand, or just someone who supports what we stand for, real conversation and real dogs, we love to collaborate. Michael?
Yes, we do. We do love to collaborate. Am I supposed to be reading something right now?
Shoot us an email at info@grassrootscanine.com.
Yes, we
Again,
do.
that's info@grassrootscanine.com if you are interested in sponsoring our podcast. We're going to get into a fun segment now.
Oh boy.
I was having fun the whole time.
I was, but
Me too.
this segment is specifically us answering and reading some questions and comments from our last episode.
Let's
so
go.
Are there hater comments in it?
Oh, we should do a hater special in like a
that would
few
be
months.
good.
We'll
I
start
don't
compiling
know.
them.
Maybe.
All right, yeah,
Maybe.
we're gonna
So we're
compile.
gonna go. Let's go around. Liam, why don't you start with the first one?
Like, you want me to just read it?
Well, yeah, and say
Say
who it came
Okay,
from.
okay. This is from. wait.
Fum?
This
Fum.
is
This is
from-
Fum. I'm trying to. This is a little confusing name here. All right, this is Dog Walk Rehab 150.
Yeah.
Where are these from, by the way? On YouTube?
Yeah, some of them.
All right,
They're different platforms.
Okay, here we go. If we're going to talk about the state of dog training, it's important to consider the possibility that treats and tools are not only unnecessary but often counterproductive. Physical aversives are not necessary to modify behavior, even with serious aggression cases. Period. Fact.
Wrong. Fact.
I don't necessarily want to say like wrong overall, but like I think that's a massive generalization for thousands of different dogs, and there's I don't know, this one's I'm about to get pissed off, y'all. I think in the perfect world, yes, you're right. I wish I could just say, hey, Fluffy, stop being aggressive, and then send it home from its board and train, but that isn't really reality for a lot of dogs. And I'd say 99.8% of the time, dogs that are showing what was the quote? What was the quote?
Serious aggression.
Serious aggression typically aren't super biddable, and you're not just going to tell them, hey, quit that, and they're going to stop.
Or
So,
look at me.
yeah. But Dog Walk Rehab probably has you covered, so check them out and book in your board and train.
Damn, we
bro.
started all
Oh my
wrong.
god.
Who put that one first? I'm hot.
Well, I think also like this episode is a great one to think about. Dog walker, Dog Walk Rehab 150.
I know, it's kind of confusing to read.
You know, cause and effect, right? So
Cause and effect.
just think about it.
No, they don't care about that. There is no cause and effect.
All right, Mike, you got the next one.
Me?
Yeah.
This one is from Eliza Osmo.
Yep.
Yeah, you got that.
I know.
I mean, you got that right.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Aggressive dog bite work topic is very controversial in Eastern Europe too. Old school trainers tend to say that a dog without aggression is not capable of handling real threat when put face to face with, say, a robber or an intruder.
Go.
I didn't have such an experience with dogs. But when I was younger, I had aggression bursts. So I got into full contact
What is that?
Caillou karate.
Okay, yeah, just skip. No, can you say the word
To
before?
get rid of that energy. The fear factor of my aggression was definitely tamed, and it gave me confidence and understanding. But the aggression was still there. I feel like we co-evolved with dogs, and the approach-wise, we're not so far apart. P.S. Looking forward to a Yog Terrier podcast, since I'm getting one soon to go cycling and chasing animals in the forest.
We'll have Brielle
Sounds
just do that one
lit.
solo.
That sounds like a good time.
Brielle can just do that one.
That wasn't really a question.
No, but you can.
There's a statement.
It's a
I think
statement.
you can speak on
You
it.
can speak on the statement.
Yeah, I think, but it's a lot of like their personal experience with their human.
I think it's more or less of saying like they had human aggression, so therefore what helped with their human aggression was that they went into karate and it got a lot of their energy out. So in the
Was it
counterpart,
Yeah, it might have been Lucas.
when in the counter, not argument, but counter statement was about us talking about dogs that have aggressive tendencies, like towards like humans, like reactive aggressive tendencies, that we were leaning towards not doing bite work with said dogs. So I think they're trying to draw the parallel between the human behavior and the dog behavior.
Yeah, I can see it was a good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point. I think
Valid.
you can kind of get lost in the weeds of the definitions and different takes on, let's say, aggression and how we're pairing that to being able to handle a threat.
Well, I have actually a good example here. So most of the time when we have dogs, and this is general, most of the times we will see dogs that are human aggressive and or dog aggressive typically have pretty big nerve issues. Like they're just a nervy overall dog. Okay. So if you were to take a human who was showing aggression and was already lacking tons of confidence and was extremely, let's say, like not great self-esteem, all those types of things. Pretty nervy, like something fell on the ground, they jumped, all this. I don't think if you put them in a ring in karate and they got their ass whooped, they would feel really good about themselves. It probably would make them a lot more, aggressive and lose a lot of confidence. I don't think it would get their energy out. I think it would actually fuel it, and they would lead into being somebody that ends up on America's Most Wanted.
Dang.
Maybe. Can I read one more? There's another one that I want to read.
Okay, did you want to comment that at all? But I get the parallel. I get what you're saying. I just think, like Liam said, that there's a little bit more to it when it comes to humans. And in regards to Yog Terrier, be ready. It's
going to be fun. You're going to definitely be chasing animals through the woods.
Yeah. And your dog.
Yeah.
Teach him a recall.
Yeah, teach some recall before you go on your bike
Call
ride.
Brielle. Your turn. If you want to read another one before anybody else goes.
Yeah, there's some good ones. This one is from HW7775. Another more of a statement, but I can confirm that Huskies love Reiki.
Let's
Reiki.
go.
Reiki?
I think it's Reiki.
Reiki or Reiki?
We haven't actually
it's
looked that up.
I think it's Reiki.
Ricky, yeah.
Shout
Reiki.
out Spectrum K9.
Ricky. All right, yeah. So that's just the one I wanted to. So just in case you guys were wondering.
Yeah, if you have a husky, go check it out.
Hannah.
Oh God,
Take Kit to go
Kit
get some.
needs that. Kit really needs that.
I'll do the next one. _Bree_Z said,
That's a sick one.
I've been looking more and more into these topics lately and have been dealing with these conflicts in my own dog training journey. I've been curious what you guys thought about this topic since I respect your opinion and was excited to see it pop up. While I might not agree with everything you said, I can respectfully agree to disagree and still acknowledge you're great at what you do. Thanks for the conversation, education.
That's a good comment.
That was a good comment, and I think that is also a very important thing to take with you as a dog trainer. Is that you are going to see things or hear things that you may not agree wholeheartedly with, and that's okay.
Like
right?
WebMD.
Yeah. Okay. That you don't have to agree wholeheartedly with. And if there are portions of the information that you got that you think is relevant to your style of training, take it and run with it, and it doesn't have to be like all or nothing. Now this person trains in a way that I don't like, so now I hate that person.
Yeah. I think that's a very mature outlook and a good comment.
So, not so Bree, Z, shout out to you.
Thank you. All right, Mallory, you got the next.
How do I say that name, Allie?
Just, go for it, buddy.
Just send it.
I'm
Talking to
gonna-
the mic.
I'm going to
too.
say it's
Eddie.
Eddie, but
Right.
E-D-Y, yeah.
Yeah.
Sazaki?
Yeah.
Sockeye.
Let's do that.
Sasakai.
Let's do that. I have a Rottweiler, and I agree they can be very scary dogs. Mine was fine until he got into his first dog fight. That switched his brain. Now he's dog reactive and doesn't like humans approaching him suddenly. I did work on him a lot since he was a puppy, but I can see how genetics take a big part in his aggression. He's under 2 years old and full of testosterone. I'm working on his behaviors and hoping for the best.
Nice.
That's awesome.
You
Eddie.
know who you should talk to? We have a trainer who is like kind of like our Rottweiler go-to when it comes to dog training, and that's Lindsay McAllister, Canine Lindsay. She's definitely probably somebody that could help you with that. You were going to say something?
No, I was just going to say that's awesome that oftentimes people see their dog and have a hard time saying like, oh, there's like maybe a genetic leaning towards some of this aggression stuff.
Yep.
So I think that it's cool that and responsible of you as an owner to see that with your dog and be taking steps to manage and try to fix it to the best that you can. So that's awesome, Eddie Tasakai.
Braxton, you got Steve.
Steve Stout.
Oh,
All right, this one's coming in from Steve Stout -H5S.
let's go.
He says, Tyrese posted his pack of Corsos a few weeks ago, singing about them being all the colors of the rainbow and encouraging them to bite trespassers' ankles off while they trashed his life-size Megatron. Comedian, laughing face emoji.
America.
Yeah.
And I got one
Hell
thing to
yeah.
say to that. Free my boy Tyrese.
Can you send us that video as well? Because
I want to see that
kind of
video.
want to see
If
that.
you could, put that, maybe put a link to that in your comment. We would love to maybe do a review of what we see.
Also an
getting
actual,
basement.
Megatron getting bit up by some Corsos.
You had someone submit a question to you directly named Jeff. I have
It's from the Patreon. Yes,
think
that's
so.
where it's from. It's from Patreon. We have a ton of videos on our Patreon as well. You can check them out. A lot of behind the scenes stuff there. It's patreon.com/grassrootsK9. It's our sponsor. Go ahead.
I have a question for the Q&A podcast. How can you build toy drive in dogs with little or no desire for toy interaction with the handler? This is intended for people with low drive and or pet dogs that want to do personal protection mainly as a hobby or at minimum as a deterrent. It looks like a lot of the drive may have been suppressed by obedience. Any tips or advice is greatly appreciated.
Yeah, Jeff. First and foremost, thank you for being a subscriber or a patron to our Patreon.
Oh my Lord.
Secondly, what I would say is if it looks like it's some suppression that's happened because of obedience, the first kind of rule of thumb that I go with is I let that dog open up. So I don't ask much of them obedience wise. I want them to be freed up and understand the cause and effect relationship, not as negative or aversive type consequences happening. I want them to be kind of obnoxious. So that means more of a management thing on your end. I want them to feel so free. We described it before as just like an open dog. So I want them to be kind of wide open before I try to reintroduce toy play with them. So generally that is my approach. And then when I do reintroduce toy play with them, I keep it really short sessions and I try to find something that they'll be very interested in. There is a company that sells hides for like a flirt pole.
Yep.
That are like non-washed. It sounds a little bit gross, but like it still kind of smells like the animal, like the rabbit that it came off of. And I found, I believe it's Canine Instinct is the name of the
That
company.
sounds right. Yeah.
So I would definitely check that out. But first and foremost, free them up.
And like what Michael is saying, like when you pull off obedience, there's like no commands, like no tools. Like you're just literally allowing your dog to be that kid at the jungle gym and their mom and dad aren't watching. Like just let them do their thing, put the cape on, become Superman. And like he said, it's gonna be a management situation. So a lot of crate and times when you can't allow that and then really kind of pull him out that way. And not until you start seeing him become so obnoxious that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't deal. Will you introduce the toy?
Yeah. Let him open
Toy.
up. Let him the toy.
Toy.
He's toy.
Toy.
Toy. What is wrong with you guys? Okay, so that was awesome. Thank you guys so much for the questions. We really
Let's go.
appreciate that. Keep them coming. We love them. Hell, if you guys send enough, we'll make the whole podcast just Q&As.
One podcast, not the whole. Not
Just for the
But I
for the
meant
rest
that,
of the
like
end
the
of
whole
time.
episode. That's what I meant. They know what I meant. But we really appreciate you, and we appreciate Liam and Braxton and Mallory for joining us. This was awesome conversation, so thank you, babe.
Allie, thank you for being just kind of the head of the show. That's what I would like to say. Not just this show, but that all around, just keeping us together. You're the glue.
I don't know if the audience can tell that does not seem genuine, but
Seemed genuine to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you guys so much. And with that, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Keep it nifty.
On 50.
Let's go.